Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We have my dear friend, Lucy Kranker, who I've
Yeah,
known probably 25 years now,
yeah, probably at least, right?
at least 25
Yeah.
years. And as long as I've known Lucy, she is a determined, positive force to be reckoned with. She is a mom, a grandma, a daughter. She recently lost her mom, and we all were devastated because her mom was probably the most fun mom and grandma I've ever seen in my life, or met. And she could definitely hold her own, especially in Vegas.
Yeah.
So Lucy and I used to work together a long time ago in the bank, in Harbor Federal, when Harbor Federal was, now it's no longer. And she works for Caliber Home Loans now. Um, I hate, just FYI, as a plug, I mean, I live in the Keys, and Lucy has financed anything for me that we've needed in the last 20 years. She's helped me get that loan, even when we worked together and when we didn't work together. So I trust her
Thank
implicitly, and
you.
I send people to her because she is always for the person. She will make sure, I know when I go to Lucy for anything that she's going to look out for me. But this isn't an ad for Caliber Home Loans, but she does work there and she's very good at what she does. Lucy, how many, I don't even know if you probably lost count, but I know I always see that you're winning awards because even at the bank, you didn't have the highest like average mortgage amount, but you had the highest quantity of
Right,
people served.
right.
And
So
that
it
right
was
there
never
tells you you're
really,
working for people who
yeah,
are first time home buyers, newly married, establishing credit. The fact that you had the higher quantity of actual people
right.
served, that
It
means
was
a
more
lot.
units than dollar volume. And that's always important to me because it's being able to help more people and touch more people. And first time home buyers has always been my passion. So, oh, I probably 4,000.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, every year you win trips, you win everything. And you don't try to win the trips or anything. It's
No,
just
it's
because people
yeah,
come
I
to you
never
for word of
even
mouth.
really look at my numbers and it's just, looking at who has to get closed, who has to get in their home. So,
Wait, and you've
it's
been doing this way before market. I know markets are cyclical, but you've been doing this way before the market was just good. You've
oh yeah,
always been a
since
public servant helping
I came
people.
to the bank and it's been 20 years.
And you
I
started off on
started
the
as an
commercial side.
assistant. I started as an assistant to a loan officer and
And on the commercial side, right?
yes, on the commercial side. And then 3 years later moved over to residential as a loan officer, terrified in my 40s, starting a career, a fully commissioned career as a single mom with two young kids was
That's what I was gonna say, single mom.
great.
But we had a really supportive environment at the bank. I always
Yes,
felt like if I wanted to try something, I would always have the support of the people around me.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But it was scary because again, commission, not knowing what your pay was going to be, if you were going to
Mhm.
get paid, and having two young sons at home by yourself. So it was, but it from the first month, it's been wonderful for the past 20 years.
That's amazing. And so 40, starting something new. What
Yeah,
would you say to
42 actually.
what would you say to 42-year-olds who are saying, because I work with people all the time who say, I've done this my whole life. I'm too old to learn something new. I'm too old to have a second career.
No, absolutely. Just, if it's something that you feel passionate about and that you're interested in, it doesn't matter the age. I mean, I'm probably the oldest one in our office and have been the oldest one in the group since I've been doing mortgages. And I feel just as energetic as if I was 20 years old. So if it's not about your age, if it's a job that you have a passion for, a career that you have a passion for, just go for it because the passion will keep you young and spark
Well,
your energy.
but you're a lot like me well, I'm sure people tell you you're a workaholic, but and your response is probably that I don't do what I do doesn't feel like work because
Right,
you love it so much. I feel the same way. What I do, I love so much that it doesn't feel like work,
right.
but it is work. And I work at a public school system. You work for a lender, I mean, a mortgage broker company. I mean, it is work, but you love it so much. But I've messaged you on the weekend just because I got to get it out of my brain. So I've got to send you a message when we're working on something, and you messaged me back right away. So you're working 7 days a week too.
Yes.
How do you? Because your kids are active. you're a grandma, you're
Right.
constantly doing things, and you're so available to your family. You're such a strong family unit. How do you
I
create
I
boundaries?
think honestly, technology, as much as I was afraid of it, is wonderful. Like I can do anything on my phone. Like I'm doing now, because I have 7 grandchildren, and I've been doing day dates with them individually because it's hard. The little ones, they're 6 years and between 2 years old and 6 years old, and when they're all together, it's wonderful, but it's chaotic. So
To say the least.
I've been doing day dates individually with each one of them.
So tell us about day dates. I've never heard of
So
that, but I feel like I need to
just
have those with some of my friends.
just to spend the day, like for instance, the first one I did was my grandson Benjamin. He's 4 years old. I picked him up from school. He goes to VPK, so he usually is there all day. I picked him up at noon, which was when VPK was over. And I picked him up, asked him where he wanted to go to lunch, to wherever he wanted to go, and he picked McDonald's. So we went to McDonald's, and then he wanted to
He
go
has good
to,
taste.
yeah, and then he wanted to go um to Defy, which is Flying Panda. It's a trampoline place
Oh, I've
where
seen
they
those. Those look
jump
so
on.
fun.
Yeah,
Did you do that? Did you jump?
I didn't do that because I'm afraid I don't want to like get hurt or something, but I
That's
took
how I
him
would
there,
feel.
and it happened that one of his friends was there from school because a lot of the kids get out at noon after
Oh, that's
VPK.
nice.
So he just had fun, like running around, jumping, yelling, "Grandma, look at me, look at me." And I
Aw.
was sitting honestly in the massage chair. You pay $7 and you could get a massage. So I sat there, watched him, engaged with him, but I was sometimes on my phone responding to an email, pulling a credit report for the hour that I was there with him. Then
And
after,
getting a massage all at the same. Now,
yeah,
that's a boss right
yeah,
there. You're getting a massage, you're got eye contact, playing
engaging
with
with
him,
him and
and
doing
you're
my
pulling
work.
credit for credit apps.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Then we went after that hour. We were there for about an hour and a half. Then we went to the video place, Super Play, where they have video games. And we were there for probably another 2 hours. And truly, again, with my phone, texting. A lot of people don't even call anymore. It's all text.
It's
And
true.
I miss that, but like people don't want to meet face to face as much. Everything's online. I'll upload my application. I like meeting face to face, but many people don't want to do that anymore. Since COVID, it's a whole new world, right?
That's true.
And then at then after that I took him to jujitsu for a class, and then I took him home. So we had the whole
So
day
it's a
from like,
win-win situation because
yeah,
grandma's taking them to all the places that mom and dad would need to do that. If
yes.
so, it's truly a
And then I
win-win.
did it with my grandson Oliver, who's 6. Then I did a day with Mason, who's 6, and the same thing. Wherever we were, there was a place where I would be sitting watching them and working. Like nobody knew that I wasn't working because I was working. And my next one is for Michaela, my granddaughter. So that's going to be special because she's a girly girl, and we're going to a spa. It's called Spa Abulous. It's a spa for little girls where you
Oh
get
my
mini
gosh.
pedicures, manicures, makeup. So that'll be
Oh,
pretty
that's
cool. But
so cute.
during all that time, I could work. And like I live 45 minutes away from the office. And
Right.
for all those years, I drove back and forth
A
every
lot
day.
of times you lived where you were 45 minutes both ways. Like you had an office
Right.
south for 45 minutes
Yeah.
and an office north for 45 minutes. So it wasn't
So
like
I
just
would
one
drive
direction.
every day back and forth, and it was
And
fine.
you'd always go to the closings. You were at every
People would
closing I ever had.
people would say, "Oh my God, you drive so far." And it would be like, it's a pleasure after living in New York and traveling on the subway an hour each way, holding on to the bar and I couldn't reach it. So being in my car on my phone with the radio, it was fine. But during COVID, of course, we couldn't do that. And it for me, the timing with my mom starting to decline and needing to
Mhm.
be with her more because she lived with me, working from home was new to me and it was an adjustment, but it ended up working out.
Because you're a people person. You thrive off of the energy of other
Yes,
people and working with other people and just getting to know other people.
Right, and my mom would say, because then I was working from home, so I set myself up actually in the dining room, I set myself up, and she would come in, in and out to the kitchen. She had her room that she would watch TV in and do her thing, but I'd be hearing her talking to her friends, and she'd be like, "Oh, she talks all day long, she's on the phone all day long," and she felt so engaged in what I was doing every day. She loved being a part of it, just listening to me and being here. So it worked out good that we transitioned to home. And now I do both. Sometimes home, sometimes office. It depends. Like I said, most people don't want to meet face to face, and I miss that.
I can see that. Well, and I didn't even think about that for perfect timing for spending more time with your mom when
Yeah,
she needed you the most. I didn't even think
right.
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's going to be any silver linings, those something like that would be a silver lining.
Yes. It was like the timing, that I was able to be here and be here to, fix her breakfast, her lunch, and just be here during the day to keep her company and share time together all that time that I would normally have been away at the office.
Your mom was spunky.
Yes, she
She
was.
was a
Yes,
spunky, man. She was
yes,
lively and she would just tell you like it is. And she was funny.
yes. And the thing is, I would always say things to her. She would talk about things from years ago. We'd sit out on the porch at night and she'd tell me the story about how her and my dad met 65 years ago. Detailed, like every detail she remembered. Later on, she'd forget what time it was. She would literally, towards the end, she would come into where I was working and say, "Lou, what time is it?" And I'd say 12 o'clock. And she'd go back to her room and come back 10 minutes later and ask me what time it was. But she remembered that about my dad, every story, every detail till the end.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I always wonder about that. Like, you don't, well, I guess it's short term memory more. But so I was glad that those last years I was actually home more and spent more time with her.
That's how Tim's mom was. She, towards the end, she would remember everything from back in the day. I mean, she didn't speak for the last couple of years that she was with us, but when her memory started going, it was nice that she could remember all the happy times from a long
Right.
time ago. That is heartwarming. I mean,
Yes.
and he used to say
And my
things to her
mom,
like, well,
my
now
mom,
mom, you can hide your own Easter eggs, and
right.
she would laugh.
And my mom, she was 87 when she passed away, but she always wanted to do things. She never wanted to be left out.
And she
Always wanted,
traveled too.
if we were going to dinner, if we were doing anything, she wanted to be part of it. And she always was, whether it was me or my kids, she always was. And the Vegas trip, if you remember that we went on, that was not a planned trip.
I do
That was
remember that.
a spur of the moment. My son was going to Vegas to play in the
And
World
not
Series.
everything worked out along the way. Like there
Yeah,
were a lot
it
of
was,
different things
yeah,
that was like it could have
yeah,
been something that everybody was like, this is the worst trip ever, but you
right.
all made the most of it and had
It
a
was
great time.
wonderful then, in retrospect, that we had that time together. Um, it was, funny, a lot of fun, a lot of laughing, it was sad for me at some moments. Like my mom loved slot machines. And when we got there, she didn't remember how to use the slot machine. And I had to
Oh,
keep saying to her, push the button, push the button. So that made me sad to see that like something that she loved to do so much and she didn't remember what to do. But then I was happy that I was with her, because literally after just a short time that I was playing on a slot machine and she was on another one, and I had to keep telling her that, then the rest of the trip I didn't play separately. We sat together at the same slot machine the whole.
oh,
So it was kind of like that whole trip we were actually together the whole time. And then Jonathan was playing in the tournament, so it was just me and her. We'd go to the pool and she'd be, "I don't want to put on a bathing suit." And I said, "You're putting on a bathing suit." And we went to the pool and she had fun no matter where she was.
she did. She made fun. She
Yeah,
made fun wherever she was. You
yeah,
could tell that about
yeah,
her.
yeah. So that's a hard thing now, because I went to live with my mom when my dad passed away 10 years ago. My mom was 77. She had never been alone in her life. So I went there to stay with her for a little while, and I never went back home because she never wanted to be alone. I went and got my clothes and stayed there. So now at 61, I'm living alone for the first time
You can
in
come
my
live with
life.
us, Lucy. All this beautiful house that you helped us get many years ago during the pandemic. You can come stay with us.
Yeah,
Well, we
so
were
it's,
talking the other day about multi-generational families and families living in it. I
yes,
mean, you all are so close, and that's so rare these days.
we are,
There isn't that closeness anymore. Everybody's going, and it seems
right?
like, I don't know. It just seems like there's a divide. Like there's just an entitlement and a separation, and everyone is siloed. But your whole family was a family unit.
Yeah, I think
Whenever I
it's,
would think about you, I would think about everybody, your kids, your grandkids,
yeah.
your mom. I would think about everybody.
And it's, and I have sons, which sometimes it's different with sons than daughters. You just have a closer relationship sometimes with a daughter as a mom. And I always wanted daughters, but of course I was blessed with my sons. But our relationship
But now you
is
have beautiful
so,
daughter-in-laws.
yes,
So, and how
the
lucky are they?
relation,
Because you always wanted them. So now
yes,
you have them and
yes.
they have you.
My relationship with my sons were so close, and I think it was too because it was just the three of us for that when they were growing up. Because I was divorced when they were young, they were 5 and 10. It was just me and them. And my parents were a big part of their lives all the time because they helped watch them while I worked. So they had that closeness to their grandparents. And then they learned from that about the importance of for their kids to have their grandparents, me and my mom, in their kids' lives. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
they're
glad.
very family oriented
Yes,
themselves.
yes, it
But
is.
they're also kind people. I mean, you raised kind sons who are
Thank you.
like you. They serve the community. They serve others. Which one was it that was out on a charter and saved a boat that had flipped over? I remember that
Jonathan.
happened a couple of years ago. I'm sure
Yes,
Jonathan didn't even
it,
think anything about
right.
stopping what he was doing to save those people.
Yes, Jonathan. Uh-huh. Yes.
The other
Yeah.
boat had capsized and there were people on it. And
Right. And he
was
was
he
out
chartering for
on
someone at the
it was
time?
his charter that he was on, and he told his clients that he had to go the other way to help them. And he went out there, and it was crazy because it was a new boat he had just gotten, and he had lost his daughter, Madison,
That was
and he had just
the
renamed
time.
that boat Madison, the Madison Miracle. So I think that was what it was called. It was
Oh,
Madison.
so
And
sweet.
it was the first time he was taking the boat out when it was after it was renamed. And it had been a couple of months that he had not gone out after losing Madison. So it was the first time the boat went out with the name Madison Miracle that he saved those people.
And now that's their miracle.
Yes. It was actually on the news. The
It
news
was on the news. We
was
saw it
on the
down
news.
here. That's how
Yeah,
I knew about it.
yes, yes.
Wow.
And
But
Chris,
that's just his nature. But I mean, that's how you've raised them both.
right. And Christopher, he's so giving too. He he has a card and hobby shop, memorabilia, sports, and he's donated for the Habitat auction, for Healthy Start auctions. He donates his memorabilia. He ran Toys for Tots in his shop last year. They really want to give back to the communities and saw, it's where they were raised. They were raised here.
Right.
We were here for 34 years.
So
So
that's another oddity, not just the family unit, but
yes,
also that people are. My sister is in Vero Beach. She was born and raised in Vero Beach, and she still lives there. I mean,
right.
it's strange for people to be rooted and still stay there.
Yes,
There's so many transplants.
right. Yeah. So it's a good life. And, it's just, we have struggles like everyone else, hurdles like everyone else, but I think it's just that, being positive and just pushing forward and always trying to, take away the negative. Like sometimes, you know, I know with myself, even after my mother passed, right after she passed, I was all energetic and I was going, going, going. And then in June, it kind of hit me, and I was just
Yeah.
down and lost. And then what I thought about were my kids. I thought, I need to take care of myself because I don't want my kids to have to feel this in the near future. Like, I want it to be a long, long time away. And
Right.
it kind of mean pick me up to make me take care of myself more
Oh, I
for
didn't
my
even think
kids.
about it that way. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, they're also watching you, and they love you so much, and that's apparent. And anybody
Oh,
who ever sees you as a family, that I can see them being consumed with concern for you if you were to go down the
right.
rabbit hole of depression,
Yeah.
which
And
would be
it's
easy to do because you were really close with your mom.
and it's funny because, if they don't hear from me, Jonathan will call, did you hear? I can't get mom. Did you hear from her? And it's like kind of this calling my daughter-in-laws, calling my niece. Like if they can't reach me, it's like they're gonna send out like the fire
They
squad
would.
or something.
They would do a
Yeah.
wellness check on you in a
There's this
heartbeat.
cute story. It's actually my mom. So I had an early morning meeting and I didn't know about the meeting until late the night before. So I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my assistant. It was an 8 o'clock breakfast meeting. I figured by time everyone got up and I'd be finished. So I had been walking my community every morning, and I would say to my mom, she would get up when she heard me open the door, and I'd say, I'm going for my walk. And she'd say, okay. And I'd go for my walk for a little over an hour, and then I'd come back and I'd have coffee with my mom. This one morning, I said, Mom, I'm not going for a walk. I have a breakfast meeting. She said, okay. I said, I'll be back later. I left. I put my phone in my purse on off, and I went to my meeting. And it ended up being maybe an hour and a half. When I got back in my car, I looked at my phone. There were 100 missed calls. It was my mom, my son, Jonathan, Christopher, my assistant, Tracy, just like 100 calls. The last one was Tracy, so I hit her first to call back. And I'm like, hello. She's like, oh my God, where are you? Everybody's out looking for you. I'm on my way to Port St. Lucie. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was at breakfast with a colleague. She said, your mom told Chris that you went for a walk and never came back.
Oh no.
Because
Oh no.
she didn't remember that I told her that I wasn't going for a walk. She called Chris and said, your mom never came back from her walk.
Oh
So
no. That's when you
John,
knew that you had to change the phone tree.
so
You had to change the
Jonathan,
phone
Chris
tree.
called Jonathan. Jonathan came over. They're searching the neighborhood. They called Tracy. Tracy's on her way down. And it was not anything other than my mom set off this fire alarm. So when I called my mom, she's like, where have you been? You had everybody in an uproar. I said, Ma, I told you I was going to breakfast. She said, oh yeah. I said, but you called Chris and you told him I never came back. Oh, it's okay. Like it was just like it was the funniest thing that after that I had to make sure I told my kids if I
Right.
was doing something other than the norm.
That is so funny. Yeah, I totally believe that they would send like firemen out looking for you.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just, like I said about life, I'm 61. I've gone through a lot of things in life, but I feel like every struggle that I went through just made me stronger to handle the next struggle.
Well, and you were telling me that the other day when we were talking, you said something, and I thought it was really just different for how I've seen people handle, when I used to do something that would make my parents distraught, they would let me know for sure. And then, I'd walk on eggshells for 3 weeks. But you said that, when the kids were growing up, if one of them did something that you were furious about, you would give them a what for, and then you'd breathe, and then you would call them back and be like, okay, where are we going for dinner?
Right. Yeah. They would always say that, it's just like I guess my Italian temper. I would scream and yell and, oh my God, why'd you do that? And go through all that. And like you said, then just hang up the phone and breathe or go in the other room and then come out and say, okay, what are we doing now? And they'd be like, what? at the beginning when the first happened, they'd be like confused. Later on, they kind of, okay, she's gonna blow up, but she'll be fine in a little while.
Well, and it shows them unconditional love. And I'm sure that
Yes,
that's transferred over to how they raise their kids in
right.
their family, and how they are in their family, their parental unit as a family.
Yes, yes.
Do
And
you
one
see
of
a
their
lot of how
friends,
you raised them now? They're like different things that you did for them that were unique to your family, that now that's how they're with their
yes,
kids.
yes, yes, yeah. And you know, they always knew that, like, they always came first in my life. Like, I would do anything to make life good, happy, and better for them. That no matter what I was going through, it was about them. And
Yeah, but
I
they were never spoiled or anything. They never took it for granted. They also saw how hard you worked to
right,
provide for them, because they were always like gentlemen. They were
yes,
good young men. They never were, they were just really
right.
good,
I mean, they
well-mannered
they put me
kids.
through they put me through a little bit, as teenage boys do,
Right.
as they were growing up, but turned out to be wonderful partners for their, spouses, wonderful parents to their children, and had that, honestly, they had that love for family, to do family things together.
And that's heartwarming. You don't see that a lot anymore.
Right,
And if you do, if you look around at a restaurant, you see either two people who are both on their phones, not even having a conversation amongst
right,
themselves, or you see a family and either the kids are on their phones and not paying attention to what the parents are saying, or the parents are on the phone and not paying attention to what the kids are saying. It's very
right,
sad. It's very
right.
sad.
Yeah.
We,
And
I mean, we
we
have to remind ourselves, Tim and I, when we go out, sometimes we have to say, can we please be focused? I'll put my phone down if you put your phone down, because it is easy to get sucked into when
right,
someone sends you a text and you feel like you have to respond right
right,
away. And people make fun of me because my personal cell phone, because my work phone, like it comes through my computer. So I always know when someone's calling me, but my
right,
personal phone, I keep it on mute, because whoever I'm talking to at the moment is the most important person, not the
right.
person who's calling me on my cell phone or texting me. So, people know if they need to get in touch with me, they probably just should call Tim, because my phone's going to be on silent.
And it's funny because Jackson, he's my 16-year-old grandson.
Mm-hmm.
He's my
Oh,
first
he's
grandson.
he's
We
where
went out to dinner
right
one
in
night
front of
and
my eyes.
he asked, Grandma, can we put our phones away for dinner? And I put it away, shut off for the whole entire dinner. We didn't even have them out on the table.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But Jackson, oh, he loved you so much. I mean, he's the oldest, so there was a
He's
long time where
yeah,
he
and
was the only one.
he was born on
He
my
loved you.
birthday, and he was the only one for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we
He's so
have a
happy now
special
to be
bond.
surrounded by, be surrounded by more family.
Yes.
I'm sure, because everyone idolizes him because he's the cool one.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
But
that's cool.
yeah, it's good. Life is good and it's very precious and we don't know what's going to happen. As you know, things happen every day that's not expected. So we just have to live each
And
day.
you work with a lot of people who they're going through their own things too. I mean, when you're working with someone who's trying to buy a house, especially as a first time home buyer, they're learning so many things. They're going through their own things. And, if they have something where they lose their job or they lose a family, and like all of that goes into whatever their transaction is. I mean,
Right.
you're going through your things, but you're also helping other people navigate through their own.
Yeah. And I've become so close to clients, like they are like family, truly. We get to know each other so well.
Yeah. I mean, even us, I mean, we don't even live anywhere near. You've never been able to be at any of our, I mean, everything we ever bought up there, you were out at the closings. I'm sure this is the closing you
Yes.
wanted to go to, right?
Yes,
In the Keys.
right.
But we closed on this house that we're in. It's our dream house that we bought, fixed, sold, bought, like we
Right.
made our way to our dream house. And I mean, we're not like fixer upper people who have their own show on HGTV. Like we're just regular
Right.
working class people who are just doing their best to get to the dream. And you helped us close on this house. We bought this house and closed on it a week before they closed the Keys in March of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And
Was it? Oh, wow.
we were
Yeah.
thinking, we either just made the best decision of our life or the worst decision of our life. Like, I remember Tim was raking the rocks out in front of the yard, and I was like, what are you doing? And he said, they just closed the keys. The troopers, they're there, they're closing. You're not allowed in unless you can prove residency. I don't know if we made it. I don't know if we just lost everything. And I'm like, well, I'm like, okay, all right, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yes,
But nobody really knew what was going to happen with the pandemic until we did.
right, right. But you
So
made a great decision, a great move. It's paradise there.
it is. I mean, we know, and we know how lucky we are. We're so grateful every day for what we have, and nothing was handed to us. Both of our parents have
Absolutely.
passed, but
Right.
we inherited. We inherited, paying for funerals, and I inherited my brother. I mean, but we
Right.
worked hard
You
to get
worked
where we're
so
at.
hard.
But
Yeah.
we're also so grateful because there are other people who work so hard and have, just everyone has different situations, and we're so grateful for the things that we have, regardless of,
Right.
if we got them, even though we worked hard, it doesn't matter. We're still grateful, extremely
Yes.
grateful for what we have.
Yes.
And then you post the most inspiring things on Facebook. I love your Facebook feed because every single day I'm like, and some of them they're like, oh, that's what I hadn't thought about it like that, but
Right.
that's true. And one of the ones that you posted recently today, it looks like 5 hours ago. I'm looking at my Facebook feeds because I was trying to find a really good one. But you said your mind is a magnet. And I know we feel the same way here. You said your mind is a magnet. If you think of blessings, you attract blessings. If you think of problems, you attract problems. Always cultivate good thoughts and remain positive and optimistic. And that's how you are.
Yes.
But what
And
does
more,
that
the
mean to you
funny
when you
thing is
posted
that
that?
when I got up, I get up very early in the morning because you could see that was 5 hours ago, right? So I'm up at like 4 or 5 o'clock. And I was thinking about this podcast today and your theme of, thriving and being happy.
Mhm.
And that's what I was thinking about. And all of a sudden that came up on my feed. It's
God
like,
wink.
yeah, like, oh my God, this is like exactly what Laura's podcast is focused on.
It is. It is. That's what I try to focus it on.
But
I mean,
that's what
sometimes
came
you
up
got to talk about the
today,
challenges in order to talk about how to overcome them because so many people get stuck in the challenge.
right? Just to think positive. And even, my son Jonathan's going through some challenging things. He has some medical things and his boat broke. Not the boat that went to the Bahamas, but another boat that he had broke. And he was like all negative. And I said, Jonathan, you have to think of the positive. Like, let's turn it around. Let's turn how you're thinking around. And he felt so much better after we talked through it in a positive way.
It does. It does. What you're feeling does attract more of what you're feeling, but it's so hard when you're in the middle of it. Sometimes you don't realize that you're in
Right.
the middle of it.
Right. Right. And that's like I said, when right after my mother died and I was going, and then it crashed in June and I was very, didn't want to go anywhere, didn't want to do anything, was very introverted, which isn't me, didn't want
Right.
to talk. And then I really had to think about that I had that wasn't going to be good. Not even, it wasn't good for me, but it wasn't going to be good for my children and my grandchildren if I wasn't here and happy and engaged. And that I had to just pick myself up and turn it around.
So Lucy, what do you think is in your future? Do you think you're just going to keep? I mean, you go 100 miles an hour. I don't even know. I don't. I work a lot and you work more. I don't even know how you do it. I've seen you in action because I worked with you. You're like the Energizer bunny. You're the extrovert, you're the outgoing. You used to do loan applications and conversations in English, then in Spanish. And like, I can't even keep up with you at all. And so how much longer are you going to go 100 miles an
Yeah.
hour?
So I'm just gonna keep going until I can't. Like there's, like I said before, not an age. Like I'm not saying, well, I'm just gonna be, retire at 65 or 70. I'm just gonna keep doing it because I love it
Mhm.
until I can't do it anymore. So I just want to continue to help people. I want to have time with my family. And I do. I take that time now. We do trips to get family vacations, maybe long weekends. It's
Mhm.
not very easy to go away with so many little kids for like a week's time.
And that's the nice thing that both of your sons had kids around, they're around the same age of each other,
Yeah.
which is really nice, but it's kind of
So
total madness.
we do more like long weekends. maybe like a Friday to a Monday, just splattered around. And I'd rather do short weekends several times a year than, 1 week cruise that's going to cost the same as if I split up a couple of weekends and we have that
Right.
together. We
Oh,
even
that's
do
and it's
staycations just here in Jensen Beach at the
oh,
hotel,
there's so much to do.
just to be out of the house and in that atmosphere of being on vacation. Little kids love going no matter where they go.
Oh
They
no,
love
they're
going
they're
away.
very much mirrors of their father and their grandma, and they're just happy-go-lucky kids. They're
Yeah.
always up for the adventure.
No, I am just so thankful and so blessed, and that, I just am so happy that my life turned out the way it is, because there were times back then when the kids were younger on my own. I didn't know where our future was going to be, but I knew it had to be good, and I had to do what I had to do for my kids.
So what's something that you're focusing on toward, I mean, everybody's talks about New Year's resolutions and the new year and the new you and the different strategies and things that they're going to do. Is there anything that's on your horizon or your bucket list or something that you're looking to do with the kids or change something about yourself or work out or all the, what the
But
typical
definitely
goals
to,
are?
to get healthy and um, lose weight and just watch just my health. I really, and it's not even for me. Like, the thought, like I said before, behind it is I need to be here for my family. So I need to take care of myself. That's what I think. What I do, a lot of things I do not for me, but in the thought of other people's needs. So even taking care of myself, I'm thinking of it as because they need me around, and I want to
They
be around.
do. They
I
do. That's
wanted
one
to,
thing. When my mom passed away, Tim and I, that's when that's when we got healthy. That's when we
right,
lost our weight. That's when we made some major decisions around, we can't just keep saying, well, we're stress eaters. And well,
right,
this is how we've always been. My parents both passed away young. My dad was 49. My mom was 63. His parents were, in their 70s. And we, we just decided when my mom passed, she was the last parent that we had, so we
right.
said, we got to make some choices here. We want to be around to live this good life, and we want to be around for our family, and we want to be,
Yes.
so that's when we made decisions too.
And I want to continue to, spend special time with each of my grandchildren because, like I said, chaotic to have all of them together. It's great, but just to have that special, I think because of the way I had that special time with Jackson for when it was just Jackson for so many years,
Hmm.
to have special time with each one of them individually, and
They're
just
going to remember that
be
forever.
part of it. I loved when I loved school drop off and school pickup. It's different now than it was years ago. Honestly, years ago, I used to drop my kids off, but my parents picked my kids up from school every day because I was working. But it's so different now with being able to work from home. But school gets out at 4:15. You have to be at the pickup line at 3 o'clock to be at the front. Otherwise, you're all the way at the end waiting an hour to get through. So
Oh
it's
my
crazy.
gosh.
It's just crazy to see how many people actually are on the line an hour before school gets out. I guess a lot of people work from home they're remotely on their phone working.
Right.
But I love school pickup. I love
I bet
just,
when they see you, they just light up. I mean,
yeah, I
when they
just
know
love
grandma's
being
picking them
part of
up,
that.
that's
Yeah, and
that's the happiest time.
Mason and Oliver both started kindergarten at the same school. So it's so cute to, see them together. I'll drive Mason sometimes. My son will drive Oliver, and the boys wait for each other to have breakfast. Mason was
Oh.
out of school with an ear infection for 3 days this week, and Oliver didn't go to breakfast. And he was so excited when I took Thursday night when I said Mason was going back to school yesterday because they were going to meet for breakfast. And when we got there was Oliver waiting for Mason to have breakfast.
Oh, that's so
So
cute.
just to see them grow up together as
Mhm.
cousins, have those bonds and continue that family closeness, I hope goes on for many, many more years.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Thank you, Lucy. Well, thank you so much for your time. I always love chatting with you. I was
Yes,
so pleased we could catch up the other day. And thank you so much for agreeing to chat with us here and be on my podcast, because
anytime.
you're the epitome of happiness no matter the circumstances, and
Thank
but
you.
not just saying that you're happy, but finding happiness. You
Yes,
always look for happiness, and
thank
it
you.
makes such a huge difference in your life and the difference you make in other people's lives.
Thank you, Laura. I wish you and Tim a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too, Lucy.
All
Merry
right,
Christmas. All right,
bye.
I'm going to stop.